这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
Long before cities had tall glass towers, before engines pushed ships across the sea, people feared water in a quiet, steady way. Water gave fish and trade, but it also took sons and fathers without warning. In a small English town near a wide river, wooden boats were the only road to the world beyond the hills. The river looked calm most days. It moved like a long gray ribbon under the sky. Children threw stones and watched the rings grow and fade. Old men sat on the bank and spoke about weather and crops. Yet everyone knew that the middle of the river was dark and deep. When the tide rose, the water turned strong and cold. Boats that stayed near the shore were safe. Boats that drifted too far could vanish. A young boatman named Thomas made his living carrying cloth and grain from one side to the other. He was not rich, but he was proud of his skill. He knew the bends of the river, the hidden rocks, the spots where the current pulled hard. People trusted him. When storms rolled in, he still rowed, because work meant food on the table. One late autumn day, the sky changed fast. Clouds stacked high like heavy wool. The wind pushed against the river, and the water began to rise. Thomas had a full load and 2 passengers, a baker and a farm boy. They asked if they should wait. Thomas looked at the dark line on the far bank and said they would make it. Halfway across, the river shifted. A deep roar came from below, not loud, but steady and low, like a growl. The boat shook. Water splashed over the side. The farm boy cried out. Thomas tried to row harder, but the oar hit nothing but air for a second, then struck water with a snap. The boat had drifted into the deep middle channel, where the river cut down into the earth. The baker grabbed the side and shouted that they were in deep water. His voice carried fear, not just about the depth below them, but about their lives. The words hung in the air. In deep water. It meant more than the river. It meant trouble that could not be fixed with quick hands. A wave hit the boat and cracked one plank. Water rushed in. Thomas felt the cold around his boots. He knew that if he panicked, they would all sink. He forced himself to breathe slow. He shouted at the baker to bail with a bucket. He told the boy to lie flat to keep balance. He turned the boat at an angle, not straight toward the bank, but along the current, using its force instead of fighting it. For a long minute that felt like an hour, the boat spun and dipped. The shore seemed to move away. The town on the hill looked small and far. The baker kept saying they were in deep water, as if the words were a spell that named their danger. Thomas did not answer. He rowed with all his strength, arms burning, back aching. Then the boat caught a side flow that pushed it closer to a strip of reeds. The water grew less wild. The bottom of the river rose, The oar struck mud. With one last push, the boat slid into shallow water and stuck there. They stumbled out, soaked and shaking. The baker fell to his knees and kissed the ground. The farm boy laughed and cried at the same time. Thomas stood silent, staring at the dark middle of the river. He had felt the pull of something bigger than himself. Word spread fast in a small town. By evening, people spoke about how Thomas had been in deep water and lived. They used the words again and again. Soon the phrase left the riverbank. What a farmer owed more grain than he could pay. Neighbors said he was in deep water. What a shop owner lost goods in a fire. She said she was in deep water. The river became a picture in the mind, a way to speak about fear and risk. Years passed. Trade grew. Ships sailed far beyond that small town. Sailors used the same words. Out on the open sea, deep water meant a place where anchors could not reach the ground. If a ship lost its mast there, it had no easy hope. In deep water became a cry that mixed fact and feeling. Writers began to use it in plays and stories. A hero caught in lies was in deep water. A family facing hunger was in deep water. The phrase was simple, made of common words, yet it carried the weight of that dark river channel. There is more to the story than one storm. Thomas did not stop rowing after that day. He went back to the river many times. He was careful when clouds built in the west. He watched the tide with new respect. He taught younger boatmen how to read the water, how to spot the line where shallow gray turned to deep black. One spring, a new boatman laughed at old fears. He said the river was just water. He rowed too close to the center on a windy day. His boat tipped. People on shore saw him struggle. Thomas did not wait. He pushed his own boat out and rowed hard. The memory of that first storm burned in his arms. He reached the young man and pulled him up just before he slipped under. Later, when the young man tried to joke about it, Thomas shook his head. He said the river does not care about pride. He said deep water is quiet until it is not. The words stayed with the young man for life. Over time, the town changed. Stone bridges replaced small boats. The old river path filled with silt. Children no longer feared the middle channel because they walked above it on strong arches. Still, the phrase lived on. It crossed oceans in books and letters. It found a home in new lands. In America, farmers on wide plains used it when crops failed. Workers in loud cities used it when money ran short. Parents used it when a child fell ill. The words were the same, but the river was now inside each person. Deep water was any place where the ground felt far below and help seemed small. The power of the phrase comes from that picture of depth. Shallow water lets you stand. You can see the bottom. You feel safe. Deep water hides what is under you. It asks you to trust your skill, your friends, your courage. Think about your own life. There are days when work piles up and sleep is thin. Bills stack on the table. A hard talk waits at the door. Your heart beats a little faster. You may not be on a river, but you know the feeling. You are in deep water. The old story of Thomas is not about fear alone. It is about how he faced the pull and chose action over panic. He could not make the river shallow. He could only row with care, call for help, and keep his head clear. That is why the phrase still matters. It reminds us that danger is real, but so is strength. When you say you are in deep water, you are naming the storm. You are not giving up. You are telling the truth about the depth. And like that small boat sliding into reeds, there's often a side flow you cannot see yet, a chance to angle your oar and move towards safer ground. The river runs on, quiet most days, dark in the middle. The words born on its surface still travel with us, whispering that even in deep water, we can learn to swim.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。